You know, for half a century, there's been one car that has truly defined the whole idea of a sports sedan. It's the benchmark, the one that everyone else tries to beat. So today, let's dive into the incredible 50-year history of a true automotive legend, the BMW 3 Series. But before we go any further, just look at this number, 20 million plus. That's how many people all over the world have bought a 3 Series. I mean, that's not just a successful car, that is a global phenomenon. It is one of the best-selling premium cars of all time. So the big question is, how did it get here? Well, it really all boils down to this one core promise. It's a phrase you probably heard, and it defines not just this car, but the entire BMW brand. This idea, right here, this is the DNA. It's the thread that connects every single generation we're about to explore. Okay, so let's set the scene. It's 1975. The 3 Series shows up to replace the beloved 02 series. But, you know, it did way more than just replace a model. It basically created a whole new class of vehicle, the compact sports sedan. It perfectly blended agile, fun handling with everyday practicality in a way that really no one had quite nailed before. All right, so let's get into those early years. We're talking the first 2 generations. This is where BMW really figured out the secret sauce, you know? They forged the formula that would define this icon for decades to come. So here it is, the first one, the E21. This car set the template. It started out as just a 2-door sedan, but the big thing, the really critical thing it introduced was that driver-focused cockpit. You know the one, that famous angled dashboard that puts the driver right at the center of the action. It launched with 4 cylinders, but pretty quickly, in '77, BMW added those legendary, silky smooth 6-cylinder engines. And then 1982 happens. And with it comes one of the most beloved and iconic BMWs of all time, the E30. This is the generation where the 3 Series just exploded. It went from being just a single model into a true family of vehicles. And just look at how fast it all happened. Seriously, in 1983, bam, we get the first 4-door. Just 2 years later, a full convertible. Then in '86, a motorsport legend is born. And by '87, the super practical touring wagon joins the party. I mean, a complete versatile lineup built in just 5 years. That's incredible. And of course, we have to talk about the legend itself, the E30 M3. Now, this was not just a faster 3 Series. No way. It was what they call a homologation special, which is just a fancy way of saying BMW had to build and sell a bunch of road-going versions so they could legally take it racing. So yeah, it was literally a race car for the street. Okay, so the formula is set. Now we're moving into the '90s and early 2000s, and this whole era was about one thing: cementing the 3 Series status as the absolute undisputed king of its class. So in 1990, the E36 comes along, and it is a huge leap into the modern age. It was just sleeker, more aerodynamic, and really importantly, more spacious and refined on the inside. But it managed to do all that while still keeping that signature sporty feel. And the engineering under the skin, just as impressive. We got that kind of quirky hatchback they called the compact, and the first 6-speed manual showed up in the M3. But the real story was the tech. It got this advanced multi-link rear suspension that gave it incredible handling. And then there was Vanos, BMW's clever variable camshaft timing, which basically gave the engines more power and better efficiency. The best of both worlds, right? You know, by the late '90s, the 3 Series wasn't just a car anymore. It was the very identity of the brand. And the magazine Auto Review just nailed it when the next generation, the E46, arrived. They said, the essence of BMW is distilled in the 3 Series. Perfect. And wow, what a car it was. The E46, which came out in '97, wasn't about some huge revolution. It was all about perfection. It took the winning formula of the E36 and just polished every single facet, especially by introducing a whole wave of modern electronic features. And that tech leap was a really big deal. I mean, for the very first time, you could get satellite navigation straight from the factory. You started seeing those bright xenon headlights and modern LED taillights. All-wheel drive, now called xDrive, made a comeback for all-weather confidence. And under the hood, dual Vanos made those 6-cylinder engines smoother and more responsive than ever before. Okay, and that brings us right up to the modern era. This whole period is really defined by 3 big themes: a huge increase in turbocharged power, a massive leap in digital intelligence, and the first critical steps towards electrification. But first, hold on, we gotta clear something up that happened around 2013. BMW kinda split the family. The historic 3 Series nameplate stayed with the more practical models, the sedan and the touring wagon, but the sportier two-door coupe and convertible, they were spun off to create the new 4 Series. So what are the big modern highlights? Well, the E90 generation gave us the first turbocharged gas engine in the iconic 335i, and its M3 shocked everyone with a screaming V8. Then, the F30 generation introduced the first plug-in hybrid, and the current G20 brought us the fully digital live cockpit, and, after decades of fans begging for it, the first ever M3 Touring. What a machine. If you need any proof of its consistent excellence, just look at this one award, Car and Driver's 10 Best list. The 3 Series appeared on that prestigious list for 22 consecutive years. That isn't just winning, that is sustained generational dominance. So after all that evolution, what's the ultimate takeaway? It's simple, really. For 50 years, through countless changes in the car world, the BMW 3 Series has remained the benchmark. It is the car that all its rivals are measured against. And it all comes back to that initial promise. We've gone through 7 distinct generations, through massive changes in technology, design, and even what powers the car. But that DNA thread of sheer driving pleasure has remained absolutely unbroken. Which, of course, leads us to the big question. With BMW's all-electric No I-Class platform just around the corner, everything is about to change all over again. So how will the 3 Series reinvent itself? How will it redefine that core promise of sheer driving pleasure for the next 50 years?